Alright, today we are going to play around with revision. As you all have heard before, revision is a term used in the Neville Goddard community. It basically means to edit or revise a past experience. But what it really is you choosing and selecting an alternate timeline where that exact event or situation or whatever went slightly differently, aka in accordance to your desires. That's revision. There are tons of stories all over the internet, whether you can change things physically or not and all that stuff. I'm here to tell you, you absolutely can change things physically, and you should. If you are revising just for the sake of revising and not getting any physical or objective changes, then you're not utilizing the extent of your power, which is pure consciousness. So let's visit the core basic understanding behind this concept. What revision is you take a mental image that you call memory of a past occurred and lived experience. Everything that exists as your memory, you attach yourself to it and say that is real. That is what I physically lived and encountered, and that is my life. However, if you look around you, that does not exist anymore. The past is gone. Whether it was 2 seconds ago or 20 years ago, it's not there. You cannot touch it. It only exists in the form of a mental image that you call memory. Now, you can take in other mental images from your imagination, from infinity, right? You call that imagination. You can think of anything, and that is also a mental image. Now, you are the one who differentiates one mental image from another, calling one imagination as in false or fictional, and calling the other a real and lived experience. That is your choice, your truth, your distinction, and your judgment. Nobody is making you decide which one is more real or not, which one was lived or which one wasn't. You are placing it there. Now that you know you are the common denominator of your life experience, all you have to do in case of a revision is decide that mental image was actually lived by you, if that is what you desire. So when people ask questions like, can I change my date of birth? Can I change documents? Well, first, download or call in a mental image of the changed document that reflects the desire that you want. When it is so, you have to decide that is what your 3D is. How it will come about and change is no longer your concern. Whether something magically appears or disappears, so be it. Whether there's a process to it, so be it. It'll just happen for you. So, for example, if you remember correctly that you had $500 of cash lying in your bedside table, then you have $500 of cash lying in your bedside table right now. How that comes about? none of your concern. If you decide your driver's license has your desired date of birth, then that is what it will be. If you decide your driver's license has a different picture or a better picture, that is what it'll be. But you have to understand what you choose as your lived experience is all up to you. If you decide a certain event went a little bit differently, that revision, that new image of that event is now your truth. And yes, it will change the past. So for example, if you were mowing the lawn and you mowed through a bunch of flowers that you weren't supposed to, and now they're all clipped off and dead, you simply have to revise that you did actually go around the flower bed and never touch those flowers. And expect the flowers to come back. It technically doesn't come back, but you are shifting to a timeline where they were always intact and normal. That's revision. That's how it should be working. But you have to remember it correctly and deny your physically seen senses. So if you go outside right now and see the flower bed is in fact all mowed up and no longer intact, you still have to refer to the mental image where they are. Because you have to insist and say, no, I mowed it correctly. I remember mowing it correctly. There is no way those flowers are still not there. And that's your only job. So I hope this makes sense about revision. It's really re-choosing a different reality. But when it comes to certain events in the past, all you are doing is putting in the edited version and expecting results in the current 3D to show up. If you don't want results, then you won't get the physical results. If you are just happy with unchanged and don't want the results, that's also possible, and you won't see the results physically. But if you do want the change, then you have to expect it. For example, if someone you knew has physically died, but you want to try revision where they are still alive, remember, you are not bringing back a dead person and resurrecting their body to make it alive. You are simply shifting to a reality where they never died, where they were always alive. So you are supposed to only stick to that story and stay in that story knowing that they are going to show up. That's the way you materialize your revision or your newly chosen reality or timeline. Everybody is worried about how do I materialize, how do I manifest, how do I objectify things. That's how you do it, by deciding and choosing and expecting. Because if you know that memory is correct, then the 3D is wrong. It's just going to glitch and fix itself. You don't have to fix it. It's going to fix itself. Remember, there is no 3D outside of I am. It's all appearing within I am. So how it fixes itself or not, whether it's by natural means or unnatural means or explicable means or inexplicable means, whether they can be rational or irrational or explained or unexplained, it doesn't matter. There are tons of things that happen daily in the world that cannot be explained scientifically or logically. And you're going to have to be okay with that if you want the results that you want. If things happen miraculously and haphazardly, then let them. All you have to do is know that you are awake in your waking dream, and every single thing is malleable. But you have to hold on to the story that you've chosen. That is the revised event or the new memory or the new timeline. You must stick to the story and keep sticking to it, regardless of what you see going on outside. And when and how it changes is just going to happen before you even realize it. Because it's always changing. You just don't see glitchy computer animated changes in front of your eyes, but you will somehow tune in to certain things that'll indicate it's changed. So always remember, you're not changing anything. Whether something disappears for something else to appear, whether something else appears in its place, something along those lines will happen to indicate the truth of your new story, that your story is the only story that's going to currently play. So yes, things may vanish, things may disappear. You don't have to go and do that. You don't have to make it happen. Simply know that it is changed and it has changed, and you will experience it objectively in a materialistic way, if that is what you want. So once again, this is all revision is re-choosing a different timeline, but you can call it revision if you want to feel differently about something. Say you had an injury and you want to see that memory differently. You do that and the injury has no choice but to disappear. If you truly accept it as your new truth. So the accepting of something as your new truth is totally up to you. How you do that? It's simply a decision. It's simply a choice. It's simply an assumption that you decide to attach yourself to. Another reason why I compare this to nightly dreaming is because you need to stay in a very relaxed state of mind where accepting certain truths over a residing or predominant, pre-existing truth comes with just a relaxed and open mind. To say, no, I must have remembered it differently or wrong. This is the correct memory. This is the correct way it happened. And you keep saying that till you are satisfied. Till this is the story that you run. So accepting your truths, your assumptions is really up to you. Remember, everything that is a fact is still not a fact. Basically, it's all fiction that you accept as your truth. That's what a fact is. There is no difference between fact or fiction in this world, in your reality, except for the ones that you accept as your truth. So, again, fact versus fiction, revision, it all comes down to you. What you accept as your truth and as your fact is the fact. And to accept it is simply a decision. It's simply saying, no, this is the way it is. I must have remembered it all wrong. And that's all it takes for your mind to figure itself out and straighten out the timeline, and expect the results accordingly. You're coming from a standpoint of, I am all there is. I am already everything I wish and desire to have and be. And these are my assumptions and truths. Hence, your awareness is in the right direction of your chosen timeline. And that is what you will reap in terms of objectified 3D. So again, if you blur the lines between mental images and decide something else was more truer than the other, and that is what will become true for you in your physically day-to-day encounterable experience. Hope this helps. If you have questions, comments, leave them below, and I will talk to you in the next video.